So shall we start then? We have around 12 now. So hope you can hear me, right? Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So thank you. And so we'll start and we will go through the uh, remaining part of the file operations that we started last time. And this is a very important topic, as I mentioned. I mean, all the topics are important, but this is something that you can use when it comes like uh, perform file operations, reading and writing your data already available in your codes, right? So we have two main things. We can read files. That means we can read a already existing file and get get the data in that file into our code, right? That's one thing, the main thing that we are going to do in file operations. And the other thing is that we can use it for file writing. I mean the file output. That means what happens is that we can write the data in our code into a physical file. So two different things, reading and writing. So those are the two main functions when it comes to file operations, right? So we got to know about file operations, and we implemented few examples last time. So let us quickly go through them and let get to know about, refresh the knowledge on file operations. And thereafter, I will go to the today's section and we will implement a practical application based on the things that we covered on today. We are going to cover today as well as the last week, right? Okay. Um, yeah. So let us quickly go with some examples that we did last time, right? So I think, yeah. So we got these two files just last time. Yes. So the first file, simply what we did was we got to know that we have a library header file called right, a header file called fstream, right? So this is kind of a library, and this is something important, and that's something mandatory. When you are going to perform file operations, you have to definitely include this file into your code, right? This library. So fstream, file stream should definitely be included in your file before performing file operations, right? Thereafter, with that, what you have to do as the first thing is to open a file object, right? Opening a file object. So that can be simply done using this OF stream. So OF stream is something available in this F stream. So if you want a file to kind of provide output, that means if you want a file to write, right? Output file, write file, then you have to create it using OF stream, output file stream, right? So what you're going to do, you're going to create a file object called file1 in the output file stream, right? Output file stream. Thereafter, what we will do, right? So create now. This is very important. If you want to read the file, then it will be if stream. You have to create the file object in if stream class, if stream input file stream. So if you want to output something into a file එකට out කරනකොට අපි දාන්නේ OF stream කියන එක, output file stream කියන එක තමයි අපි use කරන්නේ. ඒතර ඔය දෙකෙන් තමයි base වෙන්නේ මේක. OF stream ද IF stream ද කියන එක, right? ඊට පස්සේ අපි මොකද කරන්නේ? අපි file එකක් open කරන්න ඕනේ. Right? So we need to open a file. So we have to first create a file object. Then to that object we have to open a physical file, right? So you have to first provide the parameter, the file name. So in file write mode, so this file will be opened, right? This file will be open. and the file name of the physical file is given here always. And thereafter, most important thing that you have to provide the uh, opening mode, right? Opening mode. So we have several open modes here, as I mentioned last time. Append mode, ATE mode, in mode, output mode, and trunk mode, right? Append mode, 8 mode, in mode, output mode, and trunk mode. So we have different modes of opening a file, but what we are focusing in this workshop will be the out, in, and append. So these are the opening modes that we are going to look in this workshop, I mean this lecture, out, in, and app, right? So here we we open this file in output mode, out mode. Let's see, we open it in the out mode, right? So what we simply does is here we open this into a file object called file1, and we load this physical file into that. That's what we did on last time as well, right? Then what we can do is simply we can write something into file. So writing is quite similar to cout. When you write something, you know what cout is, right? So we have used cout a lot, right? We have used cout a lot. So this is what happens when you use cout, right? So you can whatever the string and whatever the data values that you are going to provide in the cout will be shown to you in the command prompt, right? So it will be shown in the command prompt. So that's what happens simply, right? So similarly now, without doing it cout, what we can do is we can do it for file1, right? So same thing. Now cout simply shows it in the command prompt. That means cout output it to the command prompt. So if you do the same thing like file1, and if you try to output this, it will be written into the file. And the most important thing, whatever the file operation is finished, you have to definitely close the file. So we have closed the file here, open it, write it, and close it. So if you run this one, what happens simply, so the file that we open here is the example file1.txt. So example file1.txt. Right? So can you remember what we write here is this, right? Right. Okay. So that's an important thing when it comes to output mode, that if you open the same file again, and this time I'm going to run this again and close it. So I think you can remember this, what happens here, right? So this is the important thing when it comes to output file mode, right? Output file mode, no matter like whatever the data already included in the output file, right? No matter what's the data already included in the output file, if you open a file in output mode, right? When you open a file in output mode, what happens? All the existing data, all the existing data in that file will be replaced, or that will be removed, that will be erased, and a new file is created, right? So the previously existing file will be replaced and it will be deleted, and a new file in the same name will be created. That means the file will be replaced with a new file, right? And do whatever and then it will write this, right? So if you go here and see it, so now we have already run the file again. So what happened was, earlier it was like, hello, this is my third code in file operation, that is now replaced with this one. For example, now you can I can show you again the same thing. So this is what available now. Now this is what available now, and what happens is, if you write this one, so the previous code is replaced, and now the new data is written here. Understood? So that's what happened in the output mode. So we have to be careful with the output mode if we are using the output mode. Right? So you have to be careful with that. Right? You have to be careful with that. Right? But the second thing is that we have another file type called the append mode. Right? So append mode is quite useful. So append mode, we can use the append mode as a solution, and uh, right. So let me first run this one. Let me open the file. Let me open the file. Then what I'll do is I write this one into the file. Hello, this is my third code in the file operation or whatever, right? So now I'm doing it to the, yeah, let me use a text file so it will be convenient. You can use doc file as well, but I'm using a text file here, txt file. So what happens here now, when we write this, you will see what, first I will, I will remove what already available in the file, the example file 2.txt. So let me run this one first. I run this one. And when you run this one, what happens is we will check it. Okay, so this file, now the thing that I asked to write here is written now into the file, right? It's now written in the file. So thereafter what happens is that now if you run the same code again, and now in this case, let's say that we are going to write these values. Right, we are going to write these values now, let's say. So once you write this one, now it's like, okay, maths 90, physics this, chemistry this, name this, and write this into a file and let it close. Now, this is the file that already available, and what happens when you write it, now here you can see the previous code is already there, right? That means it's not replaced, right? So this is the property of the append mode, right? So if the file is already existing file, the content of that file will be preserved, and the data that you are going to add new, right? The data that you are going to add new will be appended, right? So it don't replace the already existing content. Instead of instead of uh, uh, instead of simply replacing, it will append to the end, right? The content will be append to the end. නේද? අර කලින් වගේ රීප්ලේස් කරන්නේ නැහැ append mode එකේදී. මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? append mode එකේදී අලුතෙන් ඒක අපි add කරනවා මේ end එකට. මේ code එකේ අවසානයට අපි ඒක add කරනවා. ඒක තමයි කරන්නේ append mode එකේදී, right? So hope got the idea, right? Okay, so now we will move on to the new folder, new folder, and let me get some files from the weekday batch. Okay, so I moved to a new folder, right? So I have moved to a new folder here, and this is the file available in this is the thing available in the file, right? So this is called the test file 3.txt, right? The test file 3.txt, right? So let me get C++ code, and let me call get a new file, and I'll save it here in the one, the first file for today, the first code today, one file reading. So I'm going to create a code called file reading, one file reading. So what we are going to do here is trying to read the files now. You know the write mode and you know the append mode now. Write and the append mode both writes data, write content into a file, right? So both append and write is output mode, right? Output mode, right? So here what we are going to do now, we are going to discuss how we can read the data already available in a file, right? So how to read data in a file. So let me quickly include the whatever the necessary things. And we are dealing with file operations, so F stream should be definitely there, right? And using namespace std and the main function, right? So now I want to open this file. The file is already existing here, not this one. Right, so what we need to do here is simply read this file. I will explain how to read, but then what would be the file now? The file, is it a output file or is it an input file? What do you think? We want to read it now, so it becomes a input file or output file. So where are you now? My question, I want to read the data from this file. So do I need to declare an output file or an input file?
Input file.
Which file, Noah?
Input type file.
Okay, input file, right? So then if stream, input file stream. Earlier, can you remember what we used in our codes, like the last
What
few
stream?
code? Yeah, OF stream, right? OF stream, right? So when you want to write something into a file, you have to use OF stream, right? So now F stream, and I'm going to create a file object. Now this can be any file name you like, file object name you like, right? So then file one, my file, let's say, my file dot open, and we have to provide the file name first, right? The file name would be test file 3.txt. So let me get the file name here, and then you have to provide the what, the opening mode, and it should be input mode since we are going to read it. Right. Okay, so then now we have some words, some strings here in this file, right? So we have some strings. So what we are going to do?
Excuse me.
Yes, no.
So in this case, that my file dot open and the file name should be the file what we have already created.
Yes, exactly. Now, when you are going to read something, there should be already existing file.
And the name to be exactly next to that file name.
Yeah. So this is the file name. When you like on the writing also, you had like the difference between reading and writing. When you are going to write, the file no need to be available, right?
Yeah.
No need to be available already since it is created. But if you want to read it, I mean, if you want to read the file, that file should be definitely there. I mean, already created. Now, this is the test file 3.txt. So we are going to read that file. That's why the file name is given here. Right? And
That's
this is not necessary to be the file name, right? So if the file is in somewhere else, like this file, this is somewhere else, right? This txt file. That means then you have to provide the path and then you can load it like this. Okay. You have to actually provide the path here. Not the file name, the file path, right? The file path. But thing here is since you are in the same location as your code, I mean the file is there in the same location. You are working directly where your file is. දැන් ඔයා file එක තියෙන තැනම file එක තියෙනවා නම් ඒතර file එකේ නම විතරක් දුන්නාම ඇති. හැබැයි file එක වෙන කොහේ හරි තියෙනවා නම් right? වෙන කොහේ හරි එක තියෙනවා නම් එතන මොකද කරන්න ඕනේ? මේ file එක path එක තමයි දෙන්න ඕනේ. right? අපි කියමුකෝ
okay, sir. Thank you.
text file එකක් නැද්ද මොකක්ද හොයාගන්න. Here. So let's say that this requirement.txt file, I mean, don't worry about what is the content here. Don't worry about that. But if you want to read this one, then you have to provide the whole path here. So this is the path actually should be given, not the so anyway, now if I create a string variable, now before reading it, going into the file, right? So let me do something like this. Okay, so can you remember what this scene does? I think you can remember the scene, right? So we have used this a lot. Scene, right? So what using scene, what can we do is we can take right? So we can get values from the keyboard, right? So we can get values from the keyboard when it comes to the scene, right? So we can get user inputs using scene. So this is something that we have done already. So similarly, not scene, but if you want to get not seen, so you can read something from the file. අර cout එක වගේම තමයි cout එකෙන් යවන එක ෆයිල් එකට යනවා වගේ තමයි ෆයිල් එකෙන් රීඩ් කරද්දිත් මෙහෙම රීඩ් කරන්න පුළුවන්. Right, I think these should be changed to this side, isn't it? Right, now that's the important thing, that you can't just copy it and paste it, you have to change these slashes to other way around. Right, so here now if you run this, you are going to see something like this. What is this? Now this is the file that we read here, right? The requirement.txt, right? So if you open it, so what you can see here, yes, quickly, anyone, quickly.
The first row.
Yes, exactly, the first row, right? Okay, right, give me a second. So few important points here. So you have to notice these things, few important points, that when you can give a path, when you are going to give a path, file will be opened from that file, that path, right? But if you want to write the same thing, if you want to write the file into a different direction, you can give the path here. So this is not the name, this is the path actually given, right? Thank you for asking that. So I forgot to actually mention that. Anyway, so what I wanted to show you now is not that one. We will use the test, the test file available in our location. So this is what available in this file, the test file 3.txt, right? So can anyone tell me what will be the output if you run this one? Yes.
First line of the text file tree.
Okay, good. Let's see. Actually, not the first line, but the first what? The first string.
First one.
Yes, the first string is read here. That means what? Right? In the file operation, it's going to identify the space or a new line. New line is also kind of a space, right? New line or a space as a separator, right? So a space and a new line is they act as separators, right? They act as separators. So that's what happens here. So it's only read the first string, right? It reads the first string. So now then you will be like right. So this is not going to work, right? other, I mean, how, then like for each and every word we need to have a what? We need to have a word, right? But you can do something like this then. You can write a for loop. I just like write it for five times, right? I'm not counting the number of words here, but so what happens here now? So this loop will run 5 times, right? So what happens is that we are going to read 5 then here. See? Got it? Right? So it erased 5 times and it read like each and every word. Now, the idea here is that the space act as a separator, right? The space act as a separator here. Space එක තමයි මේක separate කරන්නේ, right? මේක separate කරන්නේ space එකෙන්. Right? Understood? Got it? So that's what happens there. Um, right? But actually, this is not why I wanted to show. Like, I mean, this is one thing that I wanted to show. But the next important thing that there is a method of reading a whole line, not word by word. We can read the whole line at once. එකපාර line එකක්ම read කරන්න method එකක් තියෙනවා. මම පෙන්නන්නම් ඔයාලට. Right? So we can use this method in if you want to read line by line, right? So if you want to read line by line, you can use this method. For example, we will keep this for kind of like I will explain this the, the for loop thing later. But let me show you this thing. So we use a function available called getLine. Right, so we use a function available called getLine, and using the getLine we can do it very simply. What we can do is, okay, so we are asked to get a single line. So getLine simply gets a single line, right? A single line from the file, my file, from the my file, right? From the my file, and assign it to this my string, right? So what happens? GetLine simply gets a line from the my file and assign it to my string. So it actually gets the first line of the first line of the uh, file. The first line available in the file will be taken and it will be saved in my string. So when you are going to print it, you will see something like this. Let's see. Right. So now, do you have any idea of, I mean, how to read this repeatedly? I mean, all the lines, right? How to read all the lines. Now, this simply read one line and assign it to my string. One line from the my file and assign it to my string. So this is what you are going to see, right? So do you have any idea on how to uh, read this continuously, the remaining lines as well? Yes. How to read the remaining lines? All the lines at once? So this is what you have to do simply, right? So this, you know that getLine function reads one line from my file and assign it to my string. getLine එක මොකද කරන්නේ? my file එකෙන් එක line එකක් read කරලා ඒක my string කියන එකට දාගන්නවා. ඉතින් අපිට මොකද කරන්න තියෙන්නේ? Right? ඕක එකපාරක් නෙවෙයි අපි දෙපාරක් කරනවා. See? So in order to do that, we have to know one thing. නේද? මොකක්ද අපි දැනගෙන ඉන්න ඕනේ මෙතන මේක කරන්න අපි මොකක්ද එක දෙයක් දැනගෙන ඉන්න ඕනේ මොනවද? සම්පූර්ණ ෆයිල් එකම රීඩ් කරන්න අපි මොකක්ද දැනගෙන ඉන්න ඕනේ?
ලයින්ස් ගන්න දැනගන්න.
ඔව් exactly lines ගන්න දැනගෙන ඉන්න. හැබැයි ඒක practical නෑ නේද? මේක නම් practical. ඉතින් අපි නොදන්න ෆයිල් එකක් කොහේ හරි නැති අපි දන්නේ නැති ෆයිල් එකක් තිබ්බොත් එහෙනම් මේක හරියන්නේ නැහැ නේද? අපිට හැම වෙලේම line ගාන count කර කර ඉන්න වෙනවා. මෙච්චරක් line තියෙනවා මෙච්චර line තියෙනවා කියලා. right? ඉතින් ඒක හරියන්නේ නැහැ. හරි. කමක් නැහැ. අපි ඔතනින් idea එකක් ගත්තා. යම්කිසි idea එකක් ගත්තා. ඒක line එකක් read කරගන්න ඕන නම් ඔයාලට මෙහෙම එකපාරම මෙන්න මේ get line කියන function එක use කරලා line එකක් read කරන්න පුළුවන්. right? අපි පොඩ්ඩක් තව ෆයිල් එකකට යමු. මම ගන්නම් තව ෆයිල් එකක්. මම මේක සේව් කරනවා for file reading කියලා. for file reading. මම මෙහෙම දෙයක් කරනවා. දැන් හරි. මේක අපි අයින් කරලා දාමුකෝ. මේකත් අපි අයින් කරලා දානවා. මම දාගන්න string name int maths int physics int chemistry and int average, right? So let's say that we want to get the user input from the keyboard. What we can do is, right, so we can do something like this. Enter details of the student. We can give a message and then we can get like scene to maths, physics, chemistry, and average. Right? Sorry, not average. Average ganne api average api calculate karumuko. And also the name. And let us calculate the average here simply like maths, physics, chemistry divide by 3.0. Okay. So we haven't done anything related to file operations yet, right? So what happens here? Right? Okay, so enter the details of the student. So you are asked to enter the student's details here, right? So you are asked to enter the student details here, and now, so here the scene takes names, math, physics, and chemistry. So how we are going to provide those values? Huh? Okay, name. Then what we have to do? Huh? Yes. So how we are going to provide the maths marks then? Is it like this? Huh? Yes.
Space.
Yes, space, right? So that means space will act as what? The separator, right?
Separate.
Yes, exactly. So that means that's something default in C++. So now this will go to the name, and then the next value will be separated by the space, and it will take now the C in identify the next value by the separator. ඊළඟ value එක අඳුරගන්නේ separate එකෙන්. ඒතර 91 අඳුරගන්නේ මොකද අර 88ට පස්සේ ඊළඟ value එක අඳුරගන්නේ space එකෙන්. අර space එක ඊළඟ value එක. අවසානයේ ඒ space එකට පස්සේ ආපහු අවසාන value එක. Right? So it's I mean the scene takes this from the space. Right? So it's going to take these values filtered out using the space. Right? So space act as the separator here. So therefore what happens? Right? Therefore what happens? Now when you are going to run this one, right? right? So everything works fine, right? So name, math, physics, chemistry, and also we have calculated the average as well, right? So we have calculated the average. Therefore, the average gives us the average or the average value of these three values, right? So everything works fine here, right? So the same thing we can do for a do for a file as well, right? So what I'll do, uh, let me get, yeah, this file. This is the file, test file 4, right? So let's say that we have this kind of a file, this kind of a this kind of a file here, right? So it has 7 entries, right? So this has 7 entries, and right. So what happens, instead of seeing, now here you can also see the values are separated by a space, right? All the values are separated by a space here. So what you'll do, instead of seeing, what I'm going to do, the same thing, right? I'll do it for like my file. So now, can you tell me what will happen here? Huh? Name, maths, physics, chemistry. Yes, what will happen here? So instead of taking it seen, we take it from my file. Yes, what happens? Yes, any idea? Is it going to read the whole file? File සම්පූර්ණ file එක read කරනවද මෙතන? Huh?
Or the first line only.
Yes, only the first line. Yes, exactly, indeed. Right. So if you run this, yeah, I think test file 4, right? And no need to have this thing. So now you can see it works perfectly, right? It reads the first one, then like, so everything is separated by a space, right? Everything is separated by a space, right? So it takes the name, maths marks, physics marks, and the chemistry mark, and calculate the average, and return it, and like that, like this. So now, do you have any idea how to read this, or I mean, read all the lines here? Any idea? Now this only reads one line. Any suggestion to read the whole file?
Create in a loop.
Okay, great. So let me get the same file and get to a new code, and let me save it as file handling. Okay, so as we instructed, for how many times this loop should run? Yes,
7.
7. Good, right? So that means from 0 to less than 7, I plus plus. So let us have a separator here. So in order to identify the different entries separately. So it works perfectly fine. You can see, as you can see, John, I'll calculate average calculator, William, Henry, Hector, Sean, Michael, Raphael, right, likewise. So each and every element, the thing is calculated. I mean, the math, physics, chemistry marks, as well as the name is taken from, I mean, read from the file, and then the average is calculated for each and every entry, right? But one major drawback here, one major issue here, what? That you have to always have an idea about the what? Yes,
Number of lines contained in the file.
exactly. So let's say now it's okay for 7, you can even count it and say, but let's say we have like thousands of entries, right, or hundreds of entries. So sometimes you may and it's dynamic, sometimes it might change, right? So therefore we don't always have the ability of editing the file and entering this value. So our code should be dynamic, right? Therefore what we can do, we have a method of keep a track on the end of the file, right? So let me print something like this. I'll print, and I will print I'll also always print at the first parameter. I will print this EOF, and I will print my file dot EOF. So EOF simply gives you an idea about the end of the file. So let me run this and show you the output, then you will probably understand what happens here. Right. So EOF at the first entry, EOF 0. Right. 0. Then 0, right? Then 0, 0, 0, 0. But at the last entry, EOF is 1. That means what? Now, when it comes here, right, that means the file, I mean, the Raphael, that means the last rows, chemistry is also red. නේද? මෙතනට එනකොට අවසාන රෝ එකට එනකොට රෆායල් කියන එකේ කෙමිස්ට්‍රි කියන එකත් ඉවරනේ කියවලා. එතකොට එයා දන්නවා ඊළඟට මොකුත් නැහැ කියලා. අන්න ඒ වෙලාවට end of file කියන එක 1 වෙනවා. end of file කියන එක true වෙනවා. කියන්නේ මේ EOF එකේ myfile.eof එකෙන් අපිට track එකක් තියාගන්න පුළුවන් ෆයිල් එකේ කොතනද දැන් ඉන්නේ කියලා. ඇත්තටම කොතනද ඉන්නේ කියලා කියන්න බෑ. ෆයිල් එකේ end එක reach වෙලාද නැද්ද කියලා. ෆයිල් එකේ read කරන්න පුළුවන් ඔක්කොම read වෙලා නම් මේ EOF කියන එක 1 වෙනවා. නැත්තම් මේ EOF කියන එක 1. sorry EOF කියන එක 0. නැත්තම් EOF කියන එක 0. ඔක්කොම read කරන්න පුළුවන් ඔක්කොම මේ ෆයිල් එකෙන් read වෙලා ඉවර නම් අන්න ඒ වෙලාවට EOF කියන එක 1 වෙනවා. අනිත් වෙලාවට EOF එක 0 වෙනවා. ඉතින් මේක හොඳ අයිඩියා එකක් නේද? එහෙනම් අපි මේක රන් කළා නම් හරි මොන වෙලාවටද? අපි 7ද 8ද 9ද කියලා බලන්න නැතුව මේක අපි රන් කළා නම් හරි මොනවා වෙනකන්ද? yes
while true.
ඔව් while එකක් දාලා EOF එක මොනවා වෙනකන්ද?
True.
EOF එක
True or 1.
One
True or 1.
ඔව් EOF එක 1 වෙනකන්. ඉතින් අපි මෙහෙම කරනවා මේ myfile.eof දැන් සාමාන්‍ය while loop එක ඇතුලේ මොකක් වෙන්න ඕනද run වෙන්න? while loop එක ඇතුලේ දාන condition එක මොනවද run වෙන්නේ? while loop එක ඇතුලේ තියෙන එක මොනවද run වෙන්නේ?
True, true.
true වෙන්න ඕනේ නේද? ඒ කියන්නේ 1 වෙන්න ඕනේ. 1 කියන්නේ true, 0 කියන්නේ false. ඊට අපි මෙහෙම දැම්මොත් මොකද වෙන්නේ? හරි.
Something
ඔව්. EOF කියන්නේ මොකද්ද?
0.
දැන් මේක run වේද? මේක රන් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඇයි? 0 නෙන්නේ.
0.
ඒක රන්නේ නැහැ. end of file reach වෙලා නැහැ මුල් ටිකේ. පළවෙනියට end of file reach වෙලා නැහැ. එතන මේක රන් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. 0 එන්නේ. ඒකෙන්ද අපි මොකද කරන්නේ? අපි ඒකේ ගන්නවා මොකද්ද? not එක. not එක. 0 වල not එක 1. එතන මොකද එන්නේ? read වෙලා නැත්තම් end එක 0. එහෙනම් not හින්දා 1. එහෙනම් මේ loop එක run වෙනවා. හැබැයි end එක reach වුණ ගමන් EOF එක වෙනවා. නේද? EOF එක වෙනවා. හැබැයි ඒකේ not එක තමයි අපි ගන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ 0. එහෙනම් end of file එක ආපු ගමන් මේ loop එක නවතිනවා. condition එක වැරදි හින්දා loop එක නවතිනවා. right? එතකොට දැන් මේක කීයක් තිබ්බත් කවන්න අපි run කරලා බලමුකෝ. කියවනවා right මේ file දක්වාම කියවනවා. right? ඊට තව එකක් අපි add කරලා බලමු. I save it. I couldn't. I forgot to save it. So now this is the dynamic thing. I mean, dynamic in the sense now no need to change the any parameter. This runs automatically, no matter how many lines are there in the file, right? No matter how many files are there in the line, this reads all the files available, right? This reads all, each and every file available in the file. Or, I mean, each and every line available in the file until the end of the file is reached. Right, so in this case, no matter how many elements are there in the array, I mean array in the sense like no matter how many elements are there in this, I mean how many rows are there in this file, it's not going to be a matter. Independent of that, this runs until the end of the file is reached. So that means literally, right, it reads each and every entry in this file, right? So this is a good method of like writing, I mean running this code for all the elements available in this one. Okay, got it? All right, okay, done. So let us do exercise now. The part 1 of the exercise. Right? Okay, let me define the exercise. Create a program to take student details name, marks, name and marks of 3 subjects. So you are asked to create a program which takes student details like name and the marks of 3 subjects, right? As a keyboard input. Keyboard input from the user, right? And save those entries in a file called student details.txt. Student details.txt, right? So what you are asked to do right? Create a program to take student details, name, marks of three subjects as the keyboard input from the user and save those entries in a file called studentdetails.txt. Right? Got it? Right. So, I mean, now very simple thing. We have done this, or I mean, the first part, the create a program to take a student details, name, marks, and keyboard as the user, right? So that's something that we have already done, right? So what we can do simply, this is what we have to do, right? And one important thing I forgot, uh, calculate each student's average mark and save those details. Name, 3 marks, and average. Right? So what you are asked to do is simple thing, right? Create a program to take user inputs, name and 3 marks as a keyboard input from the user, and calculate each student's average mark, right? And then what you are asked to do is simply save those details, name and 3 marks and average in a file called student.details.txt, right? So this is something that you know, see out, enter details of the student, right? But this should be done repeatedly, right? So we have to take multiple students, right? So what we'll do now, since we don't know the number of students available, so let me create no students, number of students, right? So then I ask the how many students are there. So I first ask how many students are there, and the reply will be taken into the number of students, right? Right. So first we ask from the user how many students are there, right? How many students are there? Thereafter, what I am going to do, for int I equals 0, I less than the number of students. Now the number of students decided by the teacher or the whoever enter these values, right? And like this. I'll do something like this. Right. So you will see now what happens. Okay. So how many students are there? The first question that you ask. Okay. Let's see, 5. Enter the details of the student 1. You have to provide the name, right? Name, maths marks, physics marks, and the chemistry marks. Then enter the details of the student 2. Likewise, it's going to go up to 5 times, right? So you are asked first, at the end, you are asked to enter the number of students in the class. Then, like if it is 10, this loop will run 10 times, right? So what we did in the last example, similarly, you have to calculate the average here, right? Okay, now the first part is almost done, right? Creating a file, right? Creating a file, creating a program to take a keyboard input from the user and calculate each student's average. So we have done up to now then, right? So then you are asked to save those files in a file called studentdetails.txt. Okay, I have done up to now. So can you guide me to do the remaining part? Yes. Yes. දැන් අපි average එකට calculate වෙන තැන දක්වා කරගෙන තියෙනවා. keyboard inputs ගන්නවා. average එකත් calculate කරනවා. ඊට පස්සේ ඔක file එකට write කරන්නේ කොහොමද? මොනවද steps ටික කියන්න බලන්න ඉක්මනට. steps ටික කියන්න බලන්න ඉක්මනට. Before writing, what you have to do? Huh? Before writing the file, what you have to do first? Before writing anything, what's the first thing that you should do? Huh? What's the first thing that you should do here? Yes. File එකට write කරන්න කලින් මොකද්ද කරන්න ඕනේ? දැන් ඔයා මොකද කරන්නේ? පොතක් ලියන්න කලින් මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? පොතක මොනවද ලියන්න කලින් මොකද කරන්න ඕනේ? Huh? Yes. Before writing anything in the file, what you have to do first? Huh? Yes.
Open the file.
Yes, exactly. So you have to open it, ne? Then what will do? What's the is it output or input now? Output mode.
Off screen.
Yeah, good. Off stream. Very good. Then the file name is already given, right? So I think it's given here. studentdetails.txt. Then what happens, sir? Yes, the open mode, input, append, or output. Input, append, or output. Input, append, or output. Quickly. Input, append, or output, yes.
Output.
Yeah, output. So either output or you can use append, anything. Not input, right? Not input, obviously. Not input. Why? අපි දැන් write file එක read කරන්න නෙමෙයිනේ යන්නේ. අපි file එක මොකද read කරන්නේ? අපි file එක write කරන්න නේ. output නැත්තම් append වෙන්න ඕනේ. Right? So then what you have to do? You have to write these things. How we are going to write it? My file, you write the name, maths, physics, chemistry, and average. Okay, finally, you have to close the file. Okay, so is it going to work? any mistake I have done here මොකක් හරි මෙතන මම අඩුපාඩුවක් කරලා තියනවද පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න හොඳට කියවලා මොකද හිතන්නේ හරි අඩුපාඩුවක් තියෙද කියලා බලන්න yes any issue here I mean any mistake I have done here any idea okay so let's see sorry this is for the input the output should be this side so we will do it for 3 students okay so shall we see the output now yes so what was the mistake then huh okay can you figure out the mistake for me and point me out what to do quickly this is the output file yes ඇයි මෙහෙම එන්නේ output එක මොකක්ද හේතුව yes මොකක්ද හේතුව මෙහෙම වෙන්නේ කියන්න බලන්න ඉක්මනින් yes okay okay 3 John 88 42 and 66 okay so when I enter something like this right this is the output that you are going to see so then tell me what to do to in order to like rectify this error that you are getting I mean not error but we don't have the values like nicely saved here right so what we expect is like okay John then space then name I mean name the age not the age, the maths, physics, chemistry, then the average, and then the next entry should be started with a new line. නේද? ඊළඟ entry එක new line එක. හැබැයි දැන් එහෙම enter වෙලා නැහැ. මොකද්ද කරන්න පුළුවන් අපිට? ඇයි එහෙම වෙලා නැත්තේ? කියන්න.
After my file, the end line to be added.
Yes, end line as well as what?
Yes.
The spaces should be added manually, right? So keep these things in your mind, right? And also here, when you are writing to the file, end line should be also added. So now shall we run this and see? I accidentally enter something around 700. Neglect that. So now let's see.
එක ස්පේස් එකක් ගන්න නැහැ සර් ෆිසික්ස් වලට පස්සේ.
එහෙමද? මෙතනනේ. හරි. දැන් හරි නේද? දැන් පැහැදිලි නේද කොහොමද වැඩේ වෙන්නේ කියලා? right? එහෙනම් ඔන්න අපිට දැන් අපි ගාව හොඳ ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකක් තියෙනවා. මොකද්ද කරන්න පුළුවන් මේ ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එක අපිට පුළුවන් මේකෙන් කීබෝඩ් එකෙන් ලකුණු ගන්න. කීබෝඩ් එකෙන් ලකුණු අරගෙන අපිට පුළුවන් ඒ ලකුණු ඇවරේජ් එකත් කැල්කියුලේට් කරලා ෆයිල් එකකට රයිට් කරන්න. right? So this is what you can do now, right? Okay, so let us go to the next part. Now this is done. This is perfectly working now. So let us go to the next part. This is what you have to do in the next part. So you have to read the text file and get into variables in this code. That's the first part. Then calculate each student's grade for each subject and save all the details. In a file called student results. ඔයාලට කියනවා student details කියලා file එකෙන් අර අපි කලින් දැන් හදපු file එකෙන්, right? The file that we just created now, right? So read the student details file and get the details of the student, the name, the 3 marks, average, right? right? So now from the file that we just created, you are asked to get the name, 3 marks, average into variables in this code, right? Make a variables වලට එක read කරලා ගන්න කියනවා, right? ඊට පස්සේ හැම ස්ටුඩන්ට් ගෙම එක එක subjects වලට grade එක calculate කරන්න තියෙනවා, right? So you are asked to calculate the grade of each student for each subject, right? Each student for each subject. And දැන් ඊට පස්සේ කියනවා නමයි මාක්ස්ුයි ග්‍රේඩ්ස්ුයි හැම දෙයක්ම ස්ටුඩන්ට් රිසල්ට්ස් කියලා ෆයිල් එක සේව් කරන්න කියලා කියනවා, right? Okay, so now this is a bit advanced, I mean extension of the previous code, right? Extension of the previous code, right? So exercise part 2 now, right? Okay, so the first thing you have to now open this file, right? Okay. So now you need to read something from this file. So that means what's the file stream that you want to open it? Yes? You are going to read something from it now. Yes? Yes, quickly. Yes, any idea? Yes, quickly. අනේ මොකක්ද දැන් මේ කියන්න මේ කොහොමද ෆයිල් එකක් රීඩ් කරද්දි මොකක්ද ෆයිල් ස්ට්‍රීම් එක?
IF is
IF stream Sunday blockbuster එක බල ගන්න ඉන්නේ. ආ? අහන්නෙත් බොහොම ලේසි ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඒකවත් උත්තර දෙන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? ආ? මොකක්ද මේ ෆයිල් මෝඩ් එක ඕපනින් මෝඩ් එක මොකක්ද?
in
Good, right? So then what ඉතින් අර අපි කලින් කතා කළා මතකයි නේද? අර අපි කලින් කෝඩ් එකක් ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් කළේ අර maths physics chemistry marks ටික රීඩ් කරන්න. මතකයි නේද? ඉතින් මේ ෆයිල් එකම අපි දැන් දාමුනේ. අර ඉස්සරහා අපි කතා කරා EOF එක දාලා. ඉතින් ඒකම අපි දාමු. කලින් අපි කෝඩ් එකක් ඉම්ප්ලිමන්ට් කරගත්තා. අන්න එකෙන් අපි ගන්නවා දැන්, right? Name math physics දැන් මේක එහෙමනේ තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් end of file එක දක්වා අපි read කරනවා. end of file එක දක්වා read කරලා අපි average එක දක්වා මේක ගන්නවා. Right? Right? So we read up to average. Now no need to print it. No need to print it, but what it does, we read this thing. Now, I mean, in order to check, you can run it and see whether it's giving you the correct results. This is details file.
So spaces introduce කරන්නේ
නෑ ස්පේස් ඉන්ට්‍රොඩියුස් කරන්න ඕනේ නෑ රීඩ් කරද්දි. මොකද දන්නවද රීඩ් කරද්දි සෙපරේට් එක තමයි කියන්නේ ස්පේස් එක තමයි සෙපරේට් එක විදිහට එයා ගන්න ඔටෝමැටිකලි. මතකද?
ඒක already given නේ.
ඔව් ඒ කියන්නේ ස්පේස් එක දැන් ෆයිල්ස් වල අපි දීලානේ තියෙන්නේ මේ.
ඔව්.
අපි දාලානේ තියෙන ස්පේස් එක. එතකොට එයා ඔටෝමැටිකලි ස්පේස් එකෙන් සෙපරේට් කරලා ගන්නවා. right? හැබැයි ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ දැන් අර
වෙලා තියෙන හැබැයි lines නේ ගන්න දැන්. කොතනද අර
අපි කොහොමද තව පහක් විතර රන් කරලා මෙතනට කලින් කෝඩ් එකේ මම මේ කරන්නේ.
there's a get line දෙන්න වෙන්නේ සර්.
බෑනේ get line කරාම ඔක්කොම string එකක් විදියට එන්නේ. එතකොට අපිට
වේලියම් ස්ට්‍රින්ග් එකක් විදියට
ඔව් එතකොට අපිට ඔය මේ grades එහෙම calculate කරන්න විදියක් නැහැ නේ string එකකින්.
එඩිට් කරන්න.
right. දැන් අපි බලමු student details එක මෙහෙම තියෙන්නේ. right. අපි බලමු ඕක read කරන්න අපි දැන් මේ ලියපු file එකේ. EOF එක දැන් ඕනේ නැහැ බලන්න. හරි. ඒ ටික කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැතුව read වෙනවා නේද මේ? විලියම්, ජෝන්, හෙන්රි, හෙක්ටර් ඔය ටික ගන්න දැන් read වෙනවා. right. දැන් අපි එහෙනම් read වෙනවා කියලා දන්නවා. අපි දැන් මොකද කළේ මේ file එක open කළා. ඒ file එක ඉවර වෙනකම්ම අපි read කරගෙන යනවා. ඒ file එක ඉවර වෙනකම් අපි read කරගෙන යනවා. right. ඒ file එක ඉවර වෙනකම් අපි read කරගෙන ගිහිල්ලා මොකද කරන්නේ දැන් මේකේ අපිට කරන්න තියෙන grades ටික හොයන්න ඕනේ නේද? grades ටික හොයන්න ඕනේ. right. ඉතින් grades හොයන්න අපි ඕන තරම් මේ grade හොයන වැඩේ මීට කලින් කරලා තියෙනවා. right. දැන් අපි මේ function මේ file එකෙන් අපි line by line end of line එක වෙනකන් අපි හැම row එකේම නම maths marks, physics marks, chemistry marks average ගන්න හැම line එකකම. right. හැම line එකකම ওই ටික අරගෙන මොකද කරන්නේ අපි ඒක මේ variables වල save කරගෙන ඉන්න ඊට පස්සේ කරන්න තියෙන්නේ ඕකේ grade එක calculate කරන්න විතරයි දැන් ඔයාලට තියෙන්නේ. right. ඉතින් ඔය grade calculate කරන විදිහ අපි ඕන තරම් කරලා තියෙනවා නේද? ඊට කලින් අපි ඉතින් බලමු මේ code එකකින්ම ගන්න වැඩේ. මම ඔය fine grade function එකක් කලින් code එකකින් ගේන්න. right. fine grade function එකක් මේ තියෙන්නේ මම දාගන්නම් මෙතනට ගෙනල්ලා. right. fine grade කියලා function එකක් මෙයා mark එක ගන්නවා. mark එක අරගෙන mark එක compare කරනවා. compare කරලා grade එක calculate කරනවා. මේක දැන් අපි ඕන තරම් කරලා තියෙන එකක්. තේරෙනවද මේ? fine grade කියලා functions අපි ඕන තරම් කලින් ඉඳන් හදලා තියෙනවා. දැන් මේ තියෙන්නේ මේ වගේ එකක්. මේ රේන්ජ් එකේ නම් grade එක F කියලා දානවා. මේ රේන්ජ් එකේ නම් S, මේ රේන්ජ් එකේ නම් right. එතකොට ඔය කොහටවත් අදාළ නැති කරන්න මම grade එකට ඉරක් දාගන්නවා. මොකද 101 වගේ තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. නැත්නම් ඍණ 10 වගේ value එකක් එන්ටර් කරලා තිබ්බොත් 110 වගේ value එකක් 100ට වඩා වැඩි value එකක්. එහෙනම් ඍණ value එකක් බැරි වෙලා එන්ටර් කරොත් එහෙනම් මම grade එක dash එකක් කරගන්නවා. right. ඊට පස්සේ අවසානයේ මේ file එක return කරනවා grade එක. ඔක තමයි මේ function එකේ. මේක තමයි function එක. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේක අපි ඕන තරම් කලින් implement කරලා තියෙන function එකක්. right. grade එකක් දුන්නාම grade එක compare කරලා බලලා මේ mark එකක් දුන්නාම mark එක compare කරලා බලලා grade එක return කරන්න පුළුවන් function එකක්. right. ඉතින් මොකද අපි කරන්න ඕනේ? අපි හදාගන්න ඕනේ maths grade physics grade chemistry grade කියලා variable තුනක් මම හදා ගන්නවා. ඊළඟ මොකද කරන්නේ? maths grade එක ගන්න මම මොකද්ද යවන්නේ මෙතනට fine grade කියලා function එකක් අපි හදලා තියෙනවා. මේ fine grade කියන function එකට මම යවනවා මොකද්ද? යවන්න ඕනේ. මේ බලන්න මෙතනට mark එකක් ඇව්වහම මේ එයා mark එක දිහා බලලා අපිට grade එක ගෙනත් දෙනවා. ඒ grade එක අපි මෙතනට දා ගන්නවා මේ. ඉතින් maths grade එක ගන්න අපි යවන්න ඕනේ mark එක මොකද්ද? මොකද math grade එක අරගෙන මෙයා මෙතනට යනවා. ගිහිල්ලා මොකද කරන්නේ? compare කරලා බලනවා මේ ranges වල තියෙන කියලා බලලා grade එක assign කරන grade එක අපිට ගෙනත් දෙනවා. ඒ grade එක අපි මෙතනට දා ගන්නවා. නේ? ඉතින් ඔය විදිහට do for the physics and always as well as the chemistry. Okay, right. So everything is done now, right? So we read name, math, physics, chemistry, and average, and we find grades here. Done. Then what you ask to do? Calculate each student grade for each subject and save all. Now, save all the data, all the details, name, marks, 3 grades, and average in a file called studentresults.txt. Student result txt එකට grades, name, marks, average ඔක්කොම write කරන්න කියලා තියෙනවා. කොහොමද කරන්නේ? What you have to do first? Huh? What you have to do first now?
Create results file.
Yes, very good, right? So that should be in off stream or I stream.
Off stream.
Okay.
Very good, off stream. ඉතින් මොකද කරන්න තියෙන්නේ? result file එක අවසානයේ close කරනවා. close කරන්න කලින් මොකද කරන්නේ? ඒකට අපි යවන්න ඕනේ මොනවද? name එක යවන්න ඕනේ. maths යවන්න ඕනේ. physics යවන්න ඕනේ. chemistry යවන්න ඕනේ. ඊට පස්සේ maths grade එක යවන්න ඕනේ. ඊළඟට physics grade එක යවන්න ඕනේ. ඊළඟට chemistry grade එක යවන්න ඕනේ. හැබැයි මෙහෙම යවුවොත් වැඩේ හරියට වෙයිද?
Yes, dear.
ස්පේස් තියන්න ඕනේ අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම. නැත්නම් එහෙම අර එක දිගට තමයි කතර print වෙන්න ඕනේ. අවසානට මෙතන එන්ඩෙල් එකකුත් දාගන්න මතක තියාගන්න. හරි එච්චරයි. අවසාන රිසල්ට් ෆයිල් එක ක්ලෝස් කරනවා. බලමු රන් වේද කියලා. අනිත් පැත්ත වෙන්න ඕනේ. අවුට්පුට් නේ කරන්නේ ඒක අනිත් පැත්තට යන්නේ. done. බලමු student result txt කියන එක හැදිලාද කියලා. හැදිලා නම් තියෙනවා. ඔව් වැඩේ හරියට ඇවිල්ලා තියා නේද? නෑ මේ කලින් එකනේ ඒක නෙමෙයි. මේ අපේ දැන් ෆයිල් එක තියෙන්නේ මෙතන. හරි ඇවිල්ලා තියා නේද ලස්සනට? හරි right පැහැදිලි. දැන් බොහොම සරල දෙයක් කළේ මොකක්ද අර කලින් රයිට් කරගත්ත ෆයිල් එක ඕපන් කරගන්නවා මෙතන. එයාව රීඩ් කරනවා end of the file දක්වා. හැම ලයින් එකම රීඩ් කරලා නම physics maths case ඔක්කොම ගන්නවා. ඊට පස්සේ අපි ගාව function එකක් තියෙනවා. We have a function in order to calculate the grade. Once a mark is given, this can calculate the grade. Right? So what it does is simply we pass maths, physics, chemistry and take the result and assign it to appropriate variable, a character variable, since we need the character. So what we'll do then is that we write these data, the grades and everything, into a result file, and the result file, then we close it, right? We close the result file and also the details file. So that's what we do here, right? Now I wanted to show you a new important thing here, right? So these are the like files, right? So in in this C++, what happens when you compile this CPP file, these two executables are created. So what mean by the executables? So these executables are like exe files. That means they are standalone applications, right? Once you compile the code, these executables are created. So this is the executable file of this C++ file. Now that means this kind of a program, this kind of a software, right? So if you open this, right, no need to run the code. Just open it and it will open as a DOS application. I mean, DOS in the sense like it will create as a terminal application, a command prompt application, right? So how many students are there? 3. Done. Then the program closed, right? So you can see, okay, files are written here now. Right? So it automatically creates this student details txt and it shows you this thing, right? So it automatically works. Now then, just no need to do anything. If you run this one, that's all. This file will create it, right? So that, can you see? When you double click on that, that program will be executed and this is created. See, right? So that's why I told you that this is kind of a standalone application, a exe file, right? So we have developed a kind of a software, I mean, very simple software, but it creates the txt files and everything. So you can write a nice little code here for this kind of a purpose, right? Okay, so with that example, I will conclude the file operations topic today, right? So those are the only things that we are going to discuss. And the other most important thing is that so this actually marks the end of the C++. And on next week, what I'm actually planning to do is simply do a kind of a revision, right? And see what the issues you have, see what's the doubt you have, and discuss with you, and go through each and every um, uh, issue you have. Right, so I upload the materials of the today's section, right? So what I was talking about, that we will conclude the C++ topic from here. All the theories are finished now. So the next target would be to go through a small revision on this topic, right? So we'll do a small refresh revision kind of a session, and we will clarify the doubts, issues you may have on next week. And thereafter, we will move on to the mic controlling lecture series. Like 3 lectures will be there for mic controlling, right? Got it? Okay. So any questions from the sections we covered today, or anything, any issues you may have? ඔව්
සර් අසයින්මන්ට් එකේ මේ ෆස්ට් ක්වෙස්චන් එකේ
ආහා
ඒ කෝඩ් එක මම ලිව්වා.
හරි
ඒකේ කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට් එක කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට් එක දෙන්නම බැරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා සර්. මේ මම ගාන try කරා. පබ්ලික් දාලා රන් කරා.
ආ
පබ්ලික් දාලා රන් වෙලා ඔක්කොම රිසල්ට්ස් එක හරියට එනවා. මේ ප්‍රයිවට් දාලා කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට් එක දැම්මම පොඩ්ඩක් මේ කියන්නේ එන්නෙම නැහැ. ඒක කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට් එක උඩ හැමතිස්සෙම එරර් එකක් එනවා.
පොඩ්ඩක් පෙන්වන්න පුළුවන්ද මේ දැන් කියලාද පුළුවන් දැන් තියනද අගාව
ඔව් මම තියෙනවා සර් මට අප්ලෝඩ් කරන්න පුළුවන් ඕන නම් මේ ඔකට.
නැත්නම්
නැත්නම් Zoom එකට
නැත්නම් ස්ක්‍රීන් එක ෂෙයා කරත් කමක්
අස
නැහැ ස්ක්‍රීන් එක ෂෙයා කරත් කමක් නැහැ නැත්නම් පුළුවන් නම්
ස්ක්‍රීන් එක ෂෙයා කරන්න සර් ඔටෝ any desk වගේ සබ්ස්ක්‍රයිබ් ඕනේ සර්.
නෑ නෑ මේ zoom එකෙන් ඔය ෂෙයා ස්ක්‍රීන් කියලා එකක් තියෙන්නේ
Zoom එකෙන් පුළුවන් නේ. හරි. right සර් පුළුවන්. මේක සර්. මේකේ මේ කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට් එක දාලා රන් උනේම නෑ. මේ මෙහෙම රන් වෙනවා සර්. ඒක හරියටම එනවා මම එකක් දාලා රන් කරේ. නමුත් කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට් එක ඉන්ට්‍රොඩියුස් කරාම දැන් මම ගහපු කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට් එක තමයි මේ ස්ලෑෂ් දාලා තියෙන්නේ. හෙලෝ
hello ඔව් මේ
සර් පේනවද මගේ ස්ක්‍රීන් එක?
තාම නම් නෑ පේන්නේ
ෂෙයා වෙලා තියෙන්නේ සර්.
ආපහු ෂෙයා කරන්න බලන්න මේක පෙන්වන්නේ නෑ මොකුත්
සර්ට මම කන්ට්‍රෝල් එකක් දුන්නා.
රයිට් දැන් හරි මේ මොකක්ද දෙන එරර් එක රන් කරන්න බලන්න
ඕකෙදි හරියට එනවා සර්. නමුත් පබ්ලික් දාලා කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට් එක දුන්නම එන්නේ නැහැ.
ප්‍රයිවට් දාලා
ප්‍රයිවට් දාලා. ඔව්.
දාන්න බලන්න
මම දැන් මේ පබ්ලික් දාලානේ තියෙන්නේ සර්. පබ්ලික් දාලා රන් කර ඕක එනවා. දැන් මම ප්‍රයිවට් දාලා මෙන්න මේක තමයි මම දීපු කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට් එක. ඒ කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට් එක දුන්නාම කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට් එක උඩ හැමතිස්සෙම කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට් එක උඩ ඔන්න ඔය රේජ් මම අර C out දීලා කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ටර් කියලා සර් මුලින් අපිට කියන්නෝ ඒකත් දාලා බැලුවා.
හරි පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්න interest is not to be private within this context. My class student. හරි ඔයා මෙතන ක්ලාස් එක දාන්න ඕනේ මෙතන ඩික්ලෙයාර් කරලා නැහැ. කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට් එක ඩික්ලෙයාර් කරන්න ඕනේ.
කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ටර් ඩික්ලෙයාර් කරලා හදලා තිබ්බ ඒකද? දැන් හරි. ඩික්ලෙයාර් කරලා ඒකට දෙන්න ඕනේ ඉතින්.
හරි දැන් මෙතන ඔයා පාස් කරන්න අර values ටික. අනික තමයි මෙහෙම යවන්න බෑ දැන් මේ private නේ මෙහෙම values යවන්න බෑ. කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට් එකෙන් යවන්න මෙහෙම නැතුව. නෑ කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට්
right,
එකෙන්
එතන
set
දාන්න.
details cal average මේ වගේ තමයි යවන්න ඕනේ. හරි නේද values ටික. ඒ කියන්නේ මේකේ කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට් එකක් use කරන්න කියලා නෑනේ කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ට් එක වෙනුවට අපි ඔය set details set marks ඔය වගේ තමයි values යවන්න කියලා තියෙන්නේ.
ඒතකොට අර ප්‍රයිවට් දාන්න කියලා තියෙනවා ප්‍රයිවට් දැම්මොත් අපිට කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ටර් එකක් දාන්න වෙනවද?
නෑ private දැම්මොත් මෙහෙමයි. කියන්නේ මේකට methods public නේ. right? මේවා public නේ.
yes sir.
එතකොට මේවා කෝල් කරන්න පුළුවන්. set details set mark. ඒ කියන්නේ ඇත්තට මෙහෙමයි දැන් අපි මම ඇත්තට මේක බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ නෑ. අපි දාමුකෝ දැන්ට default constructor එකක. default construct එකයි මෙතනටත් අපි දාමු default construct එක. ඒ කියන්නේ බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ මෙහෙම මේ set details කියන එක කොහොමද හදා තියෙනවා?
set details ටික අවුඩ දෙන්න.
ඔව් මෙන්න මෙතනට ගන්න ඕනේ ඔයා මේ.
ආයතනට ගෙලින්ම int arno
අන්න හරි. ඒ කියන්නේ අර construct එකේ කරන එකම මේ වගේ කරන්න ඕනේ.
මෙතනත් කරන්න පුළුවන් නේ. කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ටර් එක දාන්න තු ගෙලින්ම එතන මේ
අන්න හරි. ඔව්. එතකොට set
ෆන්ක්ෂන් එකෙන්ම කරනවා.
marks තුන ඔතනින් වෙනම ගන්න. තේරෙනවද?
ඒතර ඩිෆෝල්ට් කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ටර් එකක් තිබ්බම කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ටර් එකෙන් හදන්න ඕනේ නැහැ.
ඔව් ඔව්. අර default constructor විතරක් දාන්න. මොකද default constructor එක නැත්තම් මේ object හදන්න බෑ ඔයාලට.
ඔව්.
මේ construct එක ඕනේ නෑ අර values ගන්න construct එක ඕනේ නෑ.
හරි.
අනිත් දේ තමයි මෙතන මේ
ඒවත්
ඔයා හිතන්නේ වැරදි කරලා තියෙන එක. මේ grades කියන එක දැන් grades කියන්නේ වගේ මොකද්ද grades කියන්නේ string හරි string නම් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ. හරි ඒක හරි. මං හිතුවේ character කියලා. හරි ඒක හරි.
හරි okay so thank you මම එහෙනම් බලන්නම්.
හරි okay right. හරි මොනවා හරි තා ප්‍රශ්න තියනද කාට හරි වෙන මොකක් හරි දෙයක්? ඔව් මේ
assignment due date එක තව දවස් දෙකකින් වගේ extend කරන්න පුළුවන්.
කවද්ද තියෙන්නේ?
Monday
මන්ඩේ හරි ඕකේ කරන්නක බලන්න බලමු අපි අලුත් අවුරුද්ද දාගන්න නැතුව මේ අවුරුද්ද ඉවර කරන්න try කරන්න. මම බලන්නම් පොඩ්ඩක් බලමුකෝ. දැන්ට කරගෙන යන්නකෝ. Okay. Are any other questions? Okay then, so thank you very much, and we will meet on next week. So if you have any issues regarding the workshop, I'm sorry, the assignment, please feel free to contact me, right? So see you on next week. Thank you very much.